great. I'm so excited to be here with the Meltdown Moms tonight.
Yes.
We are again in Meredith's house.
We're at my living room. We're drinking a little rosé tonight.
We are.
That's right. And this is the Meltdown Moms show, produced by Adam Silverstein and Mason Booker. If you want to find us, we're at meltcomics.com. Or if you want to find me, I mean, not literally me, but
I'll give you her address later.
If you want to find me, I'm at badsandy.com, which is my humor blog.
And I am aprilpivotaux.com, Peveteaux, or you can find me at Gluten Is My Bitch.
And I wanted to say, because we've never said this, if you ever want to send us a note, ask a question, ask us if certain guests you'd love us to have, certain subjects you'd love us to cover, just go to either of our places of blogship.
Of blogging.
And write us a note and tell us what you think. Compliments preferred. But any questions you have or
Only
suggestions.
compliments.
Yes. If you have criticisms, our blogs don't work.
Yes, sorry. User unknown. Yes, but here we are. We're very excited. It's award season here in Hollywood.
That's right.
And as we all know, we're all aware, and we're all like, what has happened yet again? Some of us maybe more than others. We have all these white people being nominated for Oscars.
Yay. Not us, but
Yay, white
not
people.
us.
White people.
Not
You
us.
guys have had a hard time. So.
I know you feel for us.
It's
I know.
been rough
we
for
need
you.
awards.
I know. We need all the awards. So today our topic is going to be Black girls on #Oscars So White. And before we get to that topic, which I'm really excited to introduce you to some amazing screenwriters here in Hollywood, I need to ask Meredith, how was your week?
Well, April, so my week was okay. The Hubs has been out of town for 3 out of 4 weeks of this month, or will be. So, and he
Is that
works,
a record?
No, it's not a record. So my husband produces reality TV. So like he was one of the producers on The Apprentice. So he would be gone for 3 months at a time.
Wow.
You can tell us things
fun.
about Trump, I'm hoping, at some point.
You know, he just got interviewed on NPR about Trump, and he was very forthcoming.
Oh, good.
I'm going to Google that.
I want to hear it.
Yeah. So basically, what you see is what you get with Trump, and what you get isn't nice. But
Right.
This week he has actually been here. So in that, it is nice to have an extra set of hands with the kids. But there is also, you get into a groove when the spouse is away.
Yes, you do.
My pet peeve is when he has travel that starts on Sunday. Like, I don't mind during the week because you sort of...
Yeah, you have a thing during the week.
Yeah, we just work long hours and, you know, we're used to that. But on the weekend, I'm like, oh, this is a lot of time to be with the people I love and to be alone
Small
with them.
people you
Like,
Cherish
I'm
it.
good at sort of, I can do Legos for a while, but there's a point where my rules about no screens or any other rule I have just goes out the window, and suddenly we're getting takeout, we're watching iPads all day,
I want to come over here. I want
the
to be your
wheels
kid.
fall off the engine when the Hubs is away. So, but otherwise, I can't complain. It's pretty good.
All right, that's good. I'm glad. I'm happy for you.
And not too many meltdowns
Not too many meltdowns.
on this meltdown.
I'm sure there's a few. 1 or 2.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
the homework meltdown.
Well, that's always there.
Yeah.
Always.
What about you, April? How are you? How was your week?
It's okay. I'm feeling like a modern problem, and I just keep thinking about my own mom and what she would say if she were here, because I have this. I did my taxes this week, which is just so much fun. It's again that time of year, and I was looking through like because I work, my husband works, we both work, and so you need childcare, especially during the summer when there's no school to take them
Well,
away.
when did summer break become like 3.5 months?
Crazy.
Like,
It's insane, and it's like, how do we work at a job? And I'm working all summer. I'm working for 6 months to pay for that 3 months of like summer camps and childcare, and that's and it is a tax write-off. Great.
wait, summer camp is a tax write-off?
Yeah.
Very small percentage.
Very small tax write-off. But I just couldn't believe what we spent last summer on summer camps and childcare because we both work.
We stopped doing the math on that because it was such a disturbing number that doesn't.
You're like head in the sand.
Like I'm already fine with not adding up my personal credit card bill, like the shoe bill. I'm totally down with like we're gonna pretend like this never happened.
Right.
But
right.
it's like a one-night stand is my shoe bill. Like, let's just move on.
Just moving
and
on.
pretend
Nobody's
like it
been
didn't
hurt.
happen. Yeah. No. Well.
Well,
No.
Do the shoes have their own credit card?
No.
That's a great question. That is a great question.
I would love it.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a very distressing, and I just kept thinking, like, my mom would, I don't know, like, I feel like my mom is like watching me from wherever she is, like ashamed of the money I'm spending on childcare during the summer, because
I feel like our parents are would be ashamed. Mine are both still living, and they're probably horrified just the way just where we go to dinner used to be like,
Sizzler.
It's your 16th birthday.
Seriously, it's your
You're
birthday,
getting
we're
a
going to the
steak.
Sizzler.
And now it's
Yeah.
like my kids are like, I want to go to Connie and Ted's. I want to go to Water Grill. I love
Nope, screw
salmon.
that.
I'm like, you little
Nope.
fuckers, you're eating too well.
No.
But then it's
that's not
also
right.
nice that
Salmon.
they can.
This isn't a wedding. Sit down. Just get a fish stick or something.
Whenever I
want
have an
their
8-year-old
life.
and a 5-year-old, and when I try to like do the Trader Joe's, lasagna or whatever, they're like, "What is this?"
No.
They won't eat it.
Oh my God.
They're like,
Wow.
"Mommy, something smells funny." I'm like, "It's your fucking dinner, is what
Yeah,
it is."
yeah,
So
eat it
No, they won't eat
or
it.
go to
And
bed.
then the one's like, "Can I have the wonton soup with the shrimp?" And I'm like, "We have spoiled these
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
They're
It's a whole-
fantastic eaters, but now it's biting us in the tail."
yes. As I saw
Very-
on my taxes.
Yes.
Way too much. Way too much fun
Do you
and way
think
too
I
much
can write
education.
off? Can I write off salmon for an 8-year-old? And
You can try. Did you talk about business when you had that dinner?
yes.
There you go.
Mommy, what is it that you do all day?
If you genetically modify it, then maybe. Raise it in the backyard.
Yes.
Well, that's a good problem to
Absolutely.
have, though, April. I feel like being disturbed at what you're spending means
That I'm working.
things are going well in the Pivotal house.
That I'm working, that I have the money to spend, that I need my children to be somewhere so I can work, which is
But don't you
perfect.
also need your children to be somewhere so that they don't go batshit crazy?
I'm more concerned about
I
working.
I know.
Because listen, they can't, if when all else fails, we have a backyard.
Right.
But it's more about like they're coming in and out of the backyard and they're asking me for something and can I have a spoon and can I have something, and I think they're in
Did
the
our
neighbor's
moms
backyard.
do so
and-
much snacking and water for us? Like,
Nope.
I mean,
Nope.
I had 3 meals a day, and that was lucky. And
Yeah, I would like dig
There was
through
no
the
goldfish crackers in
refrigerator
between,
for
and-
something.
Whatever
Yeah.
you stuffed in your pockets
Yeah.
on your way
Yeah.
out the door.
totally,
That was it. Yeah.
the water
no.
bottle everywhere. I mean,
Water bottle. I know, right? Where are the fountains?
I must have been the
It
most-
was a hose for me.
Oh, so you have the
You
backyard
thirsty?
hose.
You come in, you stand in.
It is-
Find this hose.
That was a nice cold water from where I grew up. We had nice cold water coming from that. That's refreshing.
It is.
It's making refreshing.
oh, I don't remember. I think I was probably dehydrated.
You probably were. But yeah, fantastic intro to our fabulous guest here today when we're talking Black girls on hashtag Oscars So White. We have Shauna Robinson and we have Tash Gray.
Yes.
Both, you can't see them, so I'm just going to say you're both Black ladies,
Last time we checked.
ladies of color.
And April and I are not.
And we are not.
We are
not. And they're also screenwriters.
Yep.
And they live here in LA. And I would like them both to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about that.
All right, Tash, you go first.
I'm going first. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm a writer on a good day.
This is Tash talking.
Yes, this is Tash. It's really Natasha, but unless you're writing me a check, you don't need to know that. And I'm actually from LA. So, yeah.
Wow.
Too bad for me.
You don't find that often.
Yeah, it's an anomaly. Every time I say that, they go, no, like, did you get here around 3? No. I was literally born a couple of blocks from where I live now in Culver City.
Wow.
Will you talk a little bit about like how you got into writing and what you're working on? And
I got into writing like 6 or 7 years ago. I came out of film school and decided that I was going to be like the female Spike Lee, and that didn't happen. I don't know why, but
You're still young. I mean,
yeah.
it could
I'm
happen.
looking at her
Yeah.
skin going, she's still
I know.
young.
I'm like, she's very young.
So I made a couple of short films, and that went well, and I decided I want to try to direct for TV. And so I appropriately stalked some female TV directors. There's like 6, not that many.
Yeah.
Diversity problems.
Mhm.
And Debbie Allen, who we all know from Fame and choreographer and actress, she's also a TV director. She was the first woman to direct a primetime show. Fame back in the day.
She directed Fame.
Yes.
She also was.
You want this? Right here is where you
Yeah.
start paying.
And so on that show, she was like, "You guys, I'm directing." They were like, "Okay, lady." So she's been directing since then. She saw my short and was like, "Yeah, you can shadow me. Learn about the directing of TV." And when I did that, I realized, nope, you're Debbie Allen and you're still for hire. And so I'm going to try to write. And that was in '08, which will connect to Shauna's story. And I met a lot of writers, and they went on strike. And when they went on strike, I started going. I lived down the street from Sony. I would go up to the picket lines and bring them snacks.
And was that your way of sucking up? Basically,
That's how I learned a lot. I asked them as many questions as
very strategic
I could come
and
up
savvy.
with.
And very mom-like for someone who's not a mom, who's a young lady, right?
Yeah, I have
innovative.
snacks in my
Literally.
purse right now. And learned about TV. And then I met this one lady. Her name is Tiffany. And she had a deal at Sony. And she said, you're funny. You should write a comedy spec. And I had seen a friend of mine's check, Shauna's, and I thought it was going to be just the filmmaker. And then I went, no, let me try this TV thing. And I wrote a spec. She read it and was like, it's good enough, which I was like, what does that mean? She was like, trust me, everybody else is horrible. So this is really good. And I applied to the programs. I got into NBC. The programs are diversity television programs.
will you tell us, just for the people that aren't as Hollywood savvy as you, what that means?
So, at some point, Hollywood was sued by the NAACP.
And also go ahead.
And who else? Who else sued them?
The Friends girl, the black chick.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Aisha
other
Tyler?
chick.
No. Somebody behind the scenes. She actually worked with me on that other show, the Oxygen show. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
Continue.
somebody they got sued, and they were like, it's clearly like you're purposefully keeping people that aren't white males out.
Yeah.
And so the networks and studios responded and said, we're going to come up with some programs that will allow for inclusion and go out and find those talented writers. And so right now, every network has one. Every studio has one, from NBC, CBS, Nickelodeon, Disney, ABC, HBO, Fox.
It's true.
Wow, I just
And
knew
then
about
there's
Disney
ancillary programs as well that don't fall under a studio head but are still meaningful. So
Meaningful, yeah.
opportunities to submit even if you're not agented or white or male.
Yeah, you don't have to have an agent. You don't have to have a manager. You don't have to even be in LA.
Yeah.
A lot of programs you can apply from anywhere.
Wow.
And so I applied to NBC's program, which is called Writers on the Verge, and I applied to Warner Brothers program. And I was a finalist in Warner Brothers, and then I got into NBC's program. And so that's kind of when someone said, "Oh, you can write, little girl."
What happens when you get in? Like, what do they provide you? What is the program?
So when you get in, the program is they're all different, but for NBC's program, it's called Writers on the Verge because they're like, you're on the verge of staffing. It's just that because
Staffing
TV,
mean you'll be on the staff
that
of a
you'll
show.
get on a television staff. Like, it's not one white guy in a room. It's like 12 white guys in a room.
Yeah.
Writing your favorite show. Yeah. So they're like,
No matter what the show is.
no matter what the show. Unless
We're
it's,
all in love with Tash now.
unless it's what's that Family Guy? Then it's 22 white guys
And one girl.
and one Asian girl. She's a badass Asian. I want to meet her. That's really their writer's room too. So they say, oh, you're ready to be staff, but they're saying we don't know them because we hire our friends, we hire people we know. So the networks and studios say, okay, we're going to find those talented people. So NBC says, here they are. They have good writing samples. They know how to speak. They're not crazy. They won't go,
They're not going to set the plantation on fire.
They
I think
won't,
we've
basically.
sorted. Yeah.
Yeah,
That should be
they'll
a
let you
hashtag.
tell at least two
Totally be a
racist
hashtag.
jokes
Yes,
and one
they will.
sexist joke
Absolutely.
a week.
Right.
A day.
And they'll let you grab their ass on occasion.
Say all kind of random shit. But so the program is okay. Now we've identified you for the next 16 weeks, you will write another spec, you'll write another original pilot, you'll learn everything we possibly can tell you about TV, you'll meet with executives, you'll meet with managers, you'll meet with agents, and it's like twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week after work, so it was like 7 to whenever we left. And then at the end, there's like a meet and greet, and the intent is then to try to get someone to staff you. And so
to hire you to be on their show, to write
to
for
hire
their show.
you to write for their show, to be a part of their staff.
And with the Disney program, it's the most competitive.
Oh yeah, I did that one too.
And the highest pay, and you would expect the highest outcome based on
Right.
those standards.
I did too. So
Wow.
I've been pimping programs from some time now.
They've been pimping you. Yeah.
She's in the program.
It's been a two-way street. But after NBC's program, which is ran by Karen Horn, who's great and awesome, she was just coming in, so you have to have those relationships. So my class kind of didn't, get the gung-ho that we probably wanted.
Meaning you didn't get the outcome afterwards.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You didn't matriculate
It wasn't
into the
Most
jobs
of
you
us
wanted.
did not get staffed after that.
So how did you get staffed?
So the next year, NBC, that I will say the program gives you validity. So now I could meet around town, and I could, have general meetings and do all of that. So I was getting known, around town, and I got like a freelance for a cable show, and I was coming close to staffing. But as Shauna will attest, even if they read you and like you, and there's no one to, kind of recommend you or bid for you, or just be like, oh no, give her a chance. If it's no one to like say, yeah, you can do it.
A writer's room is sort of like a fraternity, and someone
It's
has
very
to give you the
much.
secret handshake. It's like they want to know that they want to know that you know somebody, and
That wink. Somebody needs to wink on your behalf or not, like you said, or they're kind of like,
it's like the mob. They got to vouch for you, and you got to be a maid.
I can't be made. What's your bloodline? So my manager, my manager was like, you need to apply to another program. And she suggested the Disney ABC. And as Shauna said, it's very difficult to get in because even if you don't get on a show, they pay you.
Yep.
So
A living wage.
a living wage. Yeah, and insurance and all of that. So it's the one that most people want to get in because they know, well, even if no one takes me, I'm going to get paid. They're going to pay me to write. Right.
Yeah.
So I just was like, no, I'm not applying. I already did a program. Like someone's bratty kid. Yeah, this is craziness. They write circles around most of these people.
Yeah,
But I did, because she was like, well, we'll do staffing, but still apply. And so I did, and got in. I got into the Disney ABC program, and I was staffed within 2 weeks of being on the program. Like, I only went on one meeting, and he was like, yeah, we want to take her. And so that was my first staffing experience.
And what was that show?
It's a Disney show called Dog with the Blog.
My kids love
my
that
kids
show.
love that
So I am famous to your kids. You
Yes,
tell your kids you're with me.
I-
They were like, does she know the dog?
That's awesome.
I love this.
So I was staffed on that show, yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So Shauna, I know your story is similar but different.
Yeah. So Tash and I met at UCLA, and we both went on to become screenwriters, and we networked in an organization called Organization of Black
Screenwriters.
Screenwriters. It's been a while since I've been
Oh,
there.
yes, yeah.
I was living in the Bronx before I moved back to LA, and I was debating between journalism, which at the time my then ex-husband was doing, or being trying to do on-air reporting or screenwriting. And I was like, what would pay more and what would be more fun? So then I did some research and decided I wanted to try to be a screenwriter. And I sent out a Sex and the City spec, and I won a contest at OBS 50,000 years ago. And that was how I started my career. And that spec got me into a meeting at Girlfriends which is basically the predecessor of Sex and the City, which gets no credit for it, but that's okay because it's a black show. And it was the number. I'm sorry.
No,
That is so true.
And that was in the era when there was a CW and a WB, right?
And a UPN.
UPN.
When
United
networks are
People's
building their
Network.
backs.
Yeah,
on,
exactly. We called it United People's Network.
Yeah, United.
So anyway, I got staffed on that show through a couple of ways. They had a program called a writers trainee program, which is a defunct.
Writers
It was in the guild,
No,
and
it's still
basically,
there.
you sure?
No one uses it, but it's still there.
Okay, all right. Well, that's how I got into the guild. I mean, that's how I got into Girlfriends, and then I also did the Cosby Show program, which is crazy.
This is a whole other,
Which would have,
So the conversation just turned.
and no, I never met him. So
And she was
I
never
don't have anything
drugged.
to say, no.
But you were a fellow. I saw that you said you were a Cosby fellow. So they had fellowships.
They
through
did.
there?
It's like a competitive, not as competitive as any of the programs. that
And
you're
probably not
mentioning.
competitive anymore.
Yeah, but it was basically like you
It
go
doesn't
to
exist
USC
anymore.
for
Yeah.
6 months. I mean, for 12 weeks, and you do education about your backstory, your life history as a person of color, and you also learn how to write very well. And then they wanted to present you and make sure that you could represent both well. It was kind of silly because I majored in Afro-Am at UCLA, but whatever. I can never learn too much. And
But also, I mean, I think the underlying thing here is, like you mentioned this about going in the room. It's like if you're somebody who's in television and you've grown up on white television, I don't think there's a mystery there. I think you're pretty clear.
that's a good point.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? It's like,
Absolutely,
no, I know what this
totally.
is about. Like,
Yeah, and then I wasn't invited back, which is code for fired, on my girlfriend's show.
You
And
never get fired in Hollywood.
you don't get invited.
They just
back.
go a different
You
way.
get a
Exactly.
you get a
Exactly.
kind maybe.
Well,
And then you're
I
waiting at
think you
home.
just my husband and I call it like good news travels really fast in Hollywood and bad news doesn't travel. You just don't hear
It
from
just
anyone.
stops.
Like
That's a
yeah.
great way to say
there's
that.
just like dead silence,
Yeah.
and you're like,
and the indignity of the silence was a challenge for me.
and you're
just to
asking
be
your
honest.
agent, hey, have you heard? And
Yeah.
it's like that was 3 months ago, and the show's already on. And
Hello, been
Yeah.
there. And so I took a couple of years off, but, kind of on accident and on purpose, which worked out well because I ended up getting pregnant on accident and had my baby on purpose. So it was fine. And then I got staffed on another show just when I thought, oh, this will never happen. And I was really excited. And then the writer's strike happened and everything went to shit. And now I'm an entrepreneur and I'm opening up a women's gym and day spa in Los Angeles. And I still write.
and selling a movie.
Trying to
Yeah,
sell a movie.
she's doing
It's
a
my first time.
screenplay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great
So
concept.
it also
Thank you.
seems like, you guys both have achieved sort of what most aspiring writers would call
Yeah.
it. And it's
They
still
say only 4% of us ever cash a check in the Writers Guild. 4%.
4%.
So
But-
I'm always like, wow, I'm in the 4%? That's
Yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah.
and it's still, it's still hard.
4%. That's yeah. And then I'm still thinking about, what you said about Debbie still having to like go out and hustle for work is who she
I mean,
is. Like,
she doesn't have to hustle, but in the sense of, if you look at, and the Directors Guild did publish these numbers, so I'm not going to make them up, but if you look at how many females directed television, it's shameful.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just really shameful. So you have someone that's been directing all this time. She should be able to direct whatever television
Pick her
show.
projects and-
yeah,
yeah.
pick
They
her
should be
project.
calling her.
You should be
They
like-
should be calling her on a regular
Yeah,
basis.
absolutely.
And she's made her mark. I mean, she works a lot with Shonda Rhimes
Yeah,
and the
I saw
Shonda
some scandal
Land Camp.
recently
Yeah,
that she-
I know she did some stuff at Lifetime when my husband was there.
yeah.
and
She
directed some stuff.
she works, but I'm saying like.
But she's not like, you're not like, oh my God, we got to attach Debbie Allen. to
Yeah,
the
we gotta
project.
get Debbie
Like,
Allen.
And then everything's
She's not
going to
the
fall
thing
in
that'll
place.
push it
Right,
over.
and they
Which
should
it
just
should
say
be.
we got to get
Absolutely,
Debbie
yeah.
Allen,
Right.
like because
Right.
she's been directing all these years. She has this wealth of knowledge and information, and she's a performer and an actress, and it's
she's
like
great.
she
Yeah.
is. She's very talented. So when you look at people like that, and then you wonder what's going on, and
So then the Oscars being so white is no surprise.
Yeah.
it's not. I mean,
No.
Ava DuVernay has a show on
On OWN.
OWN, and she just announced that she's only having female directors
Yeah.
for her show.
Which is
That's just it.
fantastic.
That's-
Their
And
entire
it's just
staff.
like,
Mhm.
I'm
Now, if
only
Shonda
getting-
Rhimes does
Yes.
that, then we're in business.
Yeah.
I mean,
She does a lot,
She
though.
does,
She does a lot. She does a lot.
She's
yeah,
broken. I mean, that lady has desegregated the primetime television in a way that I don't know if anybody else could have.
Yeah.
I don't know if you probably have heard that. Well, no, maybe not. But you've heard the story before. When I went to a writer's salon with her many moons ago, it was just when Grey's Anatomy became a big hit. And she said that she told the agents to send her anybody for writing. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but the reason that we talk about racism is because I had an agent for a couple years, and these are the calls that I would actually get. So we kind of need somebody with a black voice, but not too black. Do you think you could do that? Okay, now they're looking for comedy, like, the Parkers. Do you do that? Like and not exaggerating.
You're not getting called
at all.
It's just like, this is one niche thing that's going to happen once every 2 years, and you're right for that, but we're not going to call you otherwise.
That's what we
Right.
do.
Yeah.
It's a black person on this show, so we're going to submit you.
Right.
Yeah.
Without a
It's
doubt.
like,
And
yeah.
I've sat in front of white producers and had them say things like, "I really loved your script. Wow, I didn't know black people could be funny."
Whoa.
Right to me as a joke.
Whoa. Yeah, that's hilarious.
And you would hope that
It's
you're
like we don't
sitting in
have
a
anything to
room
be
as a
funny about.
writer and that there's not necessarily a discussion of,
I believe that. I would hope that. Absolutely.
there's just a
Do you
discussion
think there'd
of
be
your,
some awareness of what decent people, not even decent people, just like people do.
Yeah,
Just
well,
how people should.
I kind of think
think
white
or be
people
or-
write for us all the time. Straight Outta Compton was written by a white woman. I didn't know that. She was fantastic. It was
Right.
a great
One
film.
white man because they got nominated for an Oscar. And
Right. And she was also on this panel that I went to at the Guild. But my point is, there's a question when we are presented to write for them. And how did I learn how to write? By
You
writing
watch
for four
television
girls
and
on
you-
Sex and the City. And,
Right.
I mean, it's
well,
not.
same way any of us do.
Exactly. It's not
Yeah.
even. I mean, I just feel like
It's
people
such-
get confused by that, and I think they also get confused by the term diversity. Diversity does not mean quotas. It doesn't mean we're going to have exactly 13% black representation and 51% female representation. It means diversity of thought, ideas, religions,
Absolutely.
races,
Well, that's-
ages,
yeah.
Perspectives.
weights,
Yeah.
skin
everything.
colors,
Experience.
Everything.
Yeah,
And
moms, non-moms. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No. It's perfect. It's perfect. I'm just saying, I feel like that's kind of, a lot of people have been discussing the Oscars and what's going on. And I think that's really what's coming up rather than these 20 actors and
Over
the
and
20
over.
actors the last year. It's
Yeah.
really more about like everybody in the room,
Yes.
everybody in the business and
Yeah.
every single thing. And then today, or this week, the Hollywood Reporter had this headline that I thought really, really nailed it. And the headline is simply, "Why Black Films Have to Be About MLK and White Movies Can Be About a Mop inventor."
I read that. It was great.
Yeah. I mean, which
So
is
great.
so true
So
because
It's
great.
definitely true.
that's the problem, when you look at it. It's, I looked at the list of all the Oscar nominees to say, can I, actually speak on all of them? And I have seen them all except for Brooklyn. I was the only one that I hadn't seen just because I was just like, so. And the reason I said so was
And we all love
because it's that
Yeah.
point that in order for there to be a film that's non-white driven, it has to have this huge story, this huge triumph. It has to be
Right.
Selma, or it has to be Beast
slavery
of No Nation.
or-
It can just be a
Much
story.
about child slavery or
Right.
Yeah.
12 years a slave. And
Yeah.
that's what we have to have. Or, even when Denzel won for Training Day, like he was like,
That speech was crazy. Remember, he was like,
Yeah.
"You guys are giving me an award for this."
Right. It was like,
After
"Have
I
you seen what
played
else I did?"
Yeah.
Malcolm X, come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
you guys
Malcolm
know,
X
but
was-
whatever.
Yeah.
Or even Taraji Henson said it in her Golden Globe. Like, are you giving it for a chick that was in jail? But when I was in Benjamin Button, you didn't want to see me? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like we don't have those options. We don't get those little boutique films. We couldn't even do Joy,
Right.
Right.
which is a very small
Maybe that's
story.
okay.
It's a very small story.
Yeah, we didn't miss that, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying we
No,
couldn't
yeah.
have done.
Yeah,
You
that's
don't get to
exactly
have
what
life
the article
moments.
was
You have to
about.
have epic moments.
Epic.
It has to be
Yeah.
epic.
Although, don't you think in terms of acting, most people win for their big splashy
Sure.
role?
Mhm.
And
But not Joy. I mean,
I know that's silly.
and not to pick on Jennifer Lawrence.
No, we like her.
We
we
like
want her
her.
in our squad.
But
we want to be
yeah.
able to say we have a squad.
We have a squad. But it really was like the smallest movie possible about a white woman who invented a mop, and that's
Yeah.
what
Right.
it is really like
I'd like to
it's in
see a
stark
spoof
contrast.
of Joy with black ladies.
I'll write it.
There
I
you
mean,
go. There you go. There
And then
it
they
is.
would be inventing a lot more than mops,
exactly.
though.
It
You're
would
like,
be-
really?
Is
Is that where we got that from?
That's someone to celebrate. But yeah, and something else that just happened last weekend. I was out with a couple of friends, and we were talking about this issue, and we're all white ladies, between the ages of like late 30s to 50, and
50.
it was you, Meredith. It was you. No,
I don't even know any 50-year-olds.
I wasn't invited, and I'm not that old.
She was like, that's not my squad.
ladies that are
That
not
is funny.
millennials, ladies
Yeah.
that are not, haven't
Kids.
grown up with as
Yeah.
much, everything around them. And the funny, we're talking about the Oscars and we were talking about like what we'd seen and why there were no, black actors. And the most insane thing was this group of this demographic. And we were like, did you see Straight Outta Compton? And we couldn't stop talking about it. And we
Really?
couldn't stop saying how much we loved it and what we thought. And it stayed with
It's
us.
true.
And it's like, how did a movie that attracts this specific audience
And I think it gets kicked away because it's too blockbuster. I feel like sometimes that can backfire.
like Star Wars?
I
Yeah.
don't. It's
think
really.
so.
It's insane.
No.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
But the actors too. The actors were so good. It's like
it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it was,
very well done.
I mean, because you could think of a lot of other blockbuster films that still got the recognition.
Titanic.
Titanic.
Come on.
That was the
Hate
first
it.
one.
I hated Titanic.
The
I'm
whitest
sorry.
movie ever.
Ever.
No, I just
Come
hated
on.
it. I
Ever.
apologize. I'm
You know,
sorry.
But
about
didn't 8
rich
Mile
people
do really
drowning.
well? Like, didn't 8 Mile get a
They
lot of
got-
Oscar nominations?
They got music nominations.
Music, yeah.
It was a
I think
big deal
Eminem
because
got-
it was a
Eminem
I
first-
did
think
well.
they got
Yeah.
writing too, but I might be
It
making
was the
that up.
first,
Yeah, I'm not
but
sure.
that was a white star, so that's
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what
I'm
I'm
saying.
Eminem, the white guy of hip hop.
the white rapper.
But like
yeah.
even with Straight Outta Compton, it was a great film, great
Perfect
performances,
writing.
but it was big. It
Yeah.
was about big moments.
absolutely
In
changing
order for and
America.
it still
Yeah,
almost did
yeah.
not get made. It
Yeah.
sat on the shelves
yeah.
for 7 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the stories that I heard that is that the only reason it got made was because they wanted Ride Along too. And Will Packer was like, you take Straight Outta
Really?
Compton
Interesting. Good
off
backstory.
of the shelves,
Wow.
we'll do this one too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
I don't know if it would have been Straight Outta Country and it would have been country music. It may have.
I mean, it would have been Walk the Line,
Yeah.
didn't it? They
Yeah,
you
it
know,
swept it.
we
Straight
Reese
Outta Country.
blinked and
Straight
it was
Outta Country.
like, we're gonna
How
make
much
it.
do I hurt these girls?
I also think that it's interesting, or just the dynamic of, Straight Outta Compton was the biggest movie. Was that the fall or summer?
It
And
was
then
early.
Star Wars
early
has
fall.
a black and female cast as leads, and I think the #1 Broadway show right now is a black show.
Hamilton.
I forget. Like, so
It's
basically,
a diverse show.
we're
Yeah.
running shit except in all this.
Right.
Like for this very moment, like the president is a Negro. Like this is a big deal, but there's no connection.
There's no
It's
connection.
and I say this whenever I go to these diversity meetings. I'm like, all of you guys voted for Obama. I see the stickers literally in your
On your
car.
Priuses, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you are uncomfortable with having, and they always say this, like, it's not me, it's my blah blah blah. It's not.
It's a pass the buck.
It's
Well, I think there's
It's
a thing
their
in this
boss is
article.
the blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
Yeah.
Their
Or,
boss
or Asian.
So-
It's like the Asian market, they're all racist, so they don't want black people starring there. I read that in this article in another call, and I was like, way to pass that buck all the way to
It's
China.
crazy.
Like,
So it's
what?
easier to run for president as a black person than get an Oscar nomination, is what we're saying. You can be president before you can be a best actor.
I mean, you could be
Yes,
all right, before you ride on our show, like
Yeah.
because
But that is-
we're
yeah.
just gonna give you that one time. You guys are getting really beside yourself if you think you're gonna get something
Racism
else.
is over because Barack
It
Obama
is.
became president.
It's
So are
Actually,
we all done? Yeah.
I heard
yeah.
some white people talking at a restaurant near my house, and I live out in Timbuktu, Westlake Village, Thousand Oaks area.
Well, that's.
And-
I mean, come on. That's
That's
like
the whitest area.
It is. It is.
I don't want to throw shade at where you live, but I
I'm
mean,
driving
that's
up the
what he asked
quotas.
for. It's like that. I mean,
So they actually said, straight up, I don't know what else they want. They already have a black president. Can
Wow.
they stop complaining about things? And I was just like, golly gee. And you think
Oh.
that, for me at least, you get naive for like 3 seconds because, you want your kids to grow up in a beautiful, diverse world where people can be whomever they want to be. And then you hear shit like this and you're like, what age are you? How old are you? Where
Yeah.
did you come from? Am I in a movie? And it's
And
no,
that you
this
think
is
it's okay
life.
to say that out loud.
Absolutely.
Like that's the other
Yeah.
part that it sounds like in the rooms you've been in. Like I just heard, and I'm going to get off topic for 2 seconds. We're going to go right back. But I just heard about a female writer who was on a show who just left and did something else. And like she was the only female and she was getting dick pics from one of the dude writers. It's like,
Oh
this
my
is
and like
God.
any guy writer has a big dick. Like you want to see
my
that.
God, that's sad. That's
so anyway,
awful.
anyway, to back to what we're talking about,
It's
it
true.
is about like the dominance of the room, of the casting, of all of these other things that are not making these movies even happen. So they're not.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's 3 big movies that have black leads, so let's pick. Like, it's just the whole system is not working. But it does. We talked about Shonda Rhimes, and you all work in television. It does seem to be better in television.
Oh wait, can I just finish that?
That's a
quick
lie.
Can I
Okay,
finish that
okay.
quick Shonda Rhimes story, and I'll make it really
Sure.
fast.
Yeah.
So at the Guild function, wherever that was, Fairfax High School years ago, she said to all the agents, "Send me whomever you have. I don't really care. Just send me whatever writer you have." And that she got nothing but, Mike's, Joey's, Abraham's, like nothing but male scripts. And she's like, "I don't understand how this is possible." I said, "Send me everybody." And the agents said to her, "When you say everybody, we assume that you mean the people who are been in the industry for a while, and they're usually white guys." And she's like, "No, I mean everybody." And they're like, "Everybody?" And she's like, "Everybody, or you're fired." And so the next day she got all of the other scripts and casting calls, and that's her process. I mean, she talks about it very openly in her book, which have you read? I read. She's changed a lot, but it's still not enough.
It's like the Shonda Rhimes is the Barack Obama. It's like
Kinda,
you've got,
yeah.
She's doing a lot of things, but she's the only one out there really changing
She's
television.
the one
And Lee
who's-
Daniels. And
In my opinion, she's the one who's willing to sacrifice something for the greater good. Like because she's got an empower position and she can do it.
yeah.
But there's so many other people who try and they just literally get like, I mean, it's sad.
Yeah, I mean there are the
Say
there are
something
the
good.
people that want to do it, but then when they get in that position, they also don't want to fight too much, because then if the show fails, it's because you wanted to make it diverse.
Yeah.
It's because you wanted to do
Is that a conversation that's happening?
Yes.
I mean, yes, it happens all the time. You'll
There
have
are many wonderful people in the Guild who are not Black or of any ethnic background other than just generic white American dudes who are fighting for this cause, and they rally, they come to us, they talk to us. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like, slavery happened it ended because of white abolitionists as well. I don't want to make it sound like every person is doing the exact same thing, but there is a dominant pattern since the beginning of this country where people are oppressed, and it shows up on our screens.
Well,
Yeah.
don't you think there's a lack of diversity even just with women? I mean, whatever color you are, there's a lack of diversity of thought. It's if you look at a
Totally.
writer's room, it's a
Yeah.
very similar kind of person
That's a
in there,
great
which
point.
which doesn't make them a bad writer. But I remember I went to the Emmys one year and seeing the credits of all the comedy shows from Conan to this one to that one, and if there was one female,
there was one.
there was one,
Mm.
and
Wow.
I think we're funny.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
They
but
don't think we're funny. You think
well,
we're
no,
funny.
I used to do stand up, and I remember hearing, "Oh, you're funny for a girl," and I was
Yeah.
like, "Does that mean I'm funny?" Or
Yeah, and you're an
Exactly.
attractive girl, so they automatically thought, "Oh, she's pretty." No, she's not
"Oh,
funny.
Tash."
You don't have to be funny if you're attractive, because people just give you stuff. So why did you develop a personality? That's
But
a
I
waste
think
of time.
women, no matter what you look like, women are automatically, we know what it's like, no matter, even a supermodel, maybe. But women know what it's like to feel like we are the other.
Yeah, without a doubt.
There is not a woman that doesn't know what it's like. And
I agree.
the representation is incredibly small.
Well, a writer's room is, like you said, to your point, a fraternity. So, when you look at a writer's room, you're in there for hours. I mean, hours, more than you're with your husband,
Anybody
your
else.
children, anyone else. More than I'm with myself. I can check out with myself sometimes. But you'll get there, let's say at 10, and this is especially true for comedy, you may leave at 10. That's a good day. Arrive at 10, leave at 10.
And it could
Oh my
be
God.
10 the next day. I mean,
And no, you still come back at 10, because you could arrive at 10, leave at 1:30, 2 in the morning. You're still back at 10. And because you're together that long, it's said you want to be comfortable with the people you're in this room with. And in order to get to story, you tell everything,
You do.
every story you can think of. It may be about, maybe my colonoscopy or pap smear, whatever gets you to the story. So it's so intimate that they all want to be funny. I want to be comfortable to get to this story, and I can't tell about how I had this racial slur with her sitting next to me, or how I called this woman the C word with this,
Or how I cheated on my wife on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, you won't feel as
yeah.
comfortable.
I mean, but that's silly. I mean, I know it's discriminatory still. I feel like we are forced. Do you guys know the phrase code switching? It means like
No.
basically when I'm on a mic or I'm in this situation, I speak very Eurofied, if you could say. But when I'm, when I'm in my hometown with my cousins in East Oakland, I might speak a little differently, and that's code switching. And our whole life we code switch, but nobody's code switching for us. You know what I mean?
Right. Which means we have
That's a good point.
We have to have taken to account other people's perspectives. We are never able to, as a Black woman, I'm never able to not consider you
absolutely
that other person, because I know that will put me in a very horrible situation.
I don't want to offend you. I don't want to freak you out. I'm gonna ease you into my Blackness,
because we don't know what it may mean to you, or how it may
it's a
put
slow
you
burn
on
your Blackness.
Yeah. See how much of it you can handle. I mean, because you went to UCLA, which is a PWI, predominantly white institution.
Well, it's a PWA. I went there.
It's predominantly
Asian.
PWC, predominantly cheating. But I mean, in that sense, if I went to a HBCU, it's a
historically Black.
Oh yeah, a historically Black college.
Thank you. I know. I was like, I'm not sure what that is.
It's a different environment. It's very nurturing, because they're like, oh, we're going to send you into that world where they don't expect you to do well,
and maybe don't want you to.
They think you're going to fail, so we're going to build you up so that when you get out there, you're able to deal with all these different things.
Totally.
And it's so I talked about something briefly that this is just ringing every bell. It's so interesting because we live in California, you lived in New York, and it's like the coast, the liberal, whatever. And then something we just discussed in relation to all of this is the Trump candidacy and how he's out there saying all these things and offending all these beings, a total
but
racist.
he's not offending. I think he's saying what people are thinking.
Well,
which is why he's doing well.
It's the people that are in it are these same guys in the room that are like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. You're making me uncomfortable because I can't make
I don't know.
a racist joke.
The guys in the room are the 13 Jewish guys that went to Harvard.
Yeah, but if
They're
you're
not
somebody
Trump's
who's
people.
but if you're a guy in a room who's thinking like,
By the way, I'm
uncomfortable
Jewish,
with this person because I can't make a racist joke or a sexist joke, you are somebody who's like super comfortable with Donald Trump who'll say all of it.
Well, I think that the challenge is, for at least, we're not asking you never to make a racist joke. We're in comedy. We get that.
But it's more the person
just to be honest, it's not that. We just want a room where you can be honest and we can go through uncomfortable moments, heal, and then move forward. Like have the dialogue.
Right.
I mean, I've made all types of horrible jokes on girlfriends. I mean, I can't lie and say that that's, we start someplace kind of awful and then we get someplace kind of good.
That's how comedy wouldn't happen without some sort of crossing the line.
Just like we just made a joke about PWI, PWC, PWA. I don't think that's horrible. It just is what it is. Now if somebody said I want to set all the Asians on fire or
that might be bad.
No, it's about pushing somebody out of the room.
But to your point, my husband recently said on Martin Luther King Day he was helping his mom do something, and he overheard neighbors in Oxnard say, "This is such a stupid holiday, but I am glad to have the day off."
Wow.
And I'm actually writing and shooting my first short about it called I'm comparing MLK Day to Columbus Day.
Yes.
And I'm going to do, but anyway, stupid and call it.
We want to see
holiday.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. But anyway, my point is, he thought that my husband believes that it's because of Trump. He's like, he believes that Trump is creating an environment where people will say things that they would never say. I don't care. I'd rather have somebody call me a nigger so I could run. I just would like.
How about those girls did you see those?
The
6 girls that wore that?
I still don't even understand what happened there. I'm like,
I don't understand it. I'm like,
it was for their senior portraits, and they took a group photo in 6 of them.
Why would they?
I don't know. And
I
one
thought
of
it was
them was
funny.
dating a nigger.
Yeah.
And she was like, it was for him. You a lie.
What is that? It doesn't make any sense.
It didn't
There's
make
nothing
sense.
that makes
But
sense
I'm
about
like,
it.
Why? What? It's 6 of you. Not one of you thought this
Not
is not
one.
a good.
Well, we should just say, so for the listeners, is that 6 girls wore shirts that spelled out
each
nigger.
one, but they had asterisks.
Asterisks.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the G's.
because they
Grab my
knew.
beans.
That's another thing. You had asterisks because you
knew that it was
you
not
had no
okay.
business saying that. Because
Yeah.
if you didn't, it would
So
have
you
been
took
Yeah.
the time to get
Yeah.
an asterisk. That's
Yeah.
a great point.
to be politically
Yeah.
correct with
About
your
it.
insult and your yeah.
It's
It was
interesting
really
because it's
confusing.
such a politically correct time where I think even as a writer, I question all the time: is this is this crossing the line? Is this too far? And yet, what's actually happening is a very unpolitically correct time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have an African American president, yet we have Donald Trump spouting hate.
Absolutely.
And people cheering him and saying, and his slogan is "Making America Great Again." And so, what's the again? What's
Well, you know what
it's
it
the most
is.
insulting
Yeah.
thing in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
as an American, to
Yeah.
me, to say that we need to be great again,
Yeah.
make us greater. That's fine. But
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
again, like get rid of
Like,
everything.
Well, also,
back
what is
to-
your
Yeah.
Go back to the way
Exactly,
it was.
yeah.
Right.
Which
Right.
is
I think that in the
open.
Black community, we thought, I won't speak for you, I thought that like it's a miracle that Obama got elected, and we're kind of, I'm an atheist, but if I did pray, I would pray that he wasn't going to be shot and
Totally.
assassinated every single day.
Yes.
Just because I assumed
Yeah.
that would happen.
I mean, that, yeah.
I did too. And
But I
Yeah.
totally think that the Trump is a different subject, but Trump is just a backlash,
Yes.
just
Yes.
a
All those
shotgun
people
in the
that were
wind.
so upset about what
Yeah.
happened
They
and
are
were
just
afraid to say
like-
it because we were saying don't say that. We're like, oh, he's giving us permission.
But don't you think that
Yeah.
with sort of the Trumpism and the police shootings and the very poor representation in the Oscars, that's more than a backlash to me.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's like even with the police shootings, people are like, "Oh my God, that's just increasing." No, it's not increasing.
We just
It's
see
just
it, right?
now,
We
right?
have
It's just
video-
now
we
it's
have these
polarized,
tools.
and we can see it
Yeah, we can
quicker
see it.
because if you
Exactly.
even look at the civil rights movement and why it became successful is because the cameras was shining
Right.
a light on what was actually happening,
Yeah.
and you couldn't turn away from it anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why they did
It's
those
true.
marches.
And
It wasn't
I
like,
don't
oh,
think it's
we're
any
marching
worse.
just for that.
When I grew up in Oakland, my dad was a Black Panther, and so was my mother, and I was trained. One, I learned how to speak to cops, and I was also told to politely move to the side when somebody was arresting somebody, hide and watch, and try to get the officer's name and information just in case that person ended up dead
Yeah,
or
you couldn't find
beaten
them.
in the jail cell.
yeah, we're
I
not
will
told.
tell
We're
you-
not told that is.
I
She
grew
grew up
up
in San Francisco.
I grew
she
up
was
in
not
Northern
told
California
that.
in
Yeah.
Lafayette, and
Yeah.
I would say what I was taught as a kid was not that. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
what a disturbing reality that is what little kids of any color need to be taught.
It's when you think about it that way, it's insane. And at the same time, I would think that
Like,
I
imagine-
had a loving, you know what I mean? Like I just felt like they were trying
It
to
was
protect
normal
me.
for
It was,
you, like-
I mean,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
interesting because
But they needed
if you
to.
met my husband, he's the biggest nerd in the world, and he looked at me and said, "Do you know any Black men my age who have not had a gun put on them by a police officer?" And I said,
do
"I
not.
don't.
I do
don't.
not.
I do not."
And if I line up the women, I would say at least half of them were
have,
there,
yeah,
and I was, I
absolutely
have.
there.
So
Yeah.
you know, that's just the existence.
And this is middle class, college
Yeah,
going,
right.
professors,
educated, all of that.
churchy,
Yeah.
like every stereotype that should make you bland and safe, all that and then some.
It does not.
Yeah. Find a sort of meth smoking white guy and he's scarier.
Yeah.
He's probably never had a gun pulled on him.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, that poor
Yeah.
homeless
So
guy.
what
Yeah.
is you guys are in the trenches, you're successful writers. What's the remedy? Is there one? Is it
Make your own and stop complaining. I mean, that's how I feel. I'm not begging anybody for anything. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not. You have so many tools now. I held my own table read recently. I had my friends over. They all read it. White people, Asian people, Black people. And we, read the parts. It was fun. And hopefully I can produce it and sell it.
Yeah.
And she made her own recently.
Yeah, I
We
did
made
a TV
film.
movie.
What
I
did you
wrote
do?
it. I wrote a TV movie called Daddy's Home. It's on Netflix and iTunes. And there's a new movie called Daddy's Home. I just
I
hope
know, I
everybody
was
gets
like, not that one.
confused and just goes out and watches it, thinking
she
"Where
wrote a
is
Will
Mark?
Ferrell movie herself?
Where's Mark Wahlberg?
That
It's
is
okay.
fun.
He is not in it.
But
Go
don't
ahead
you
and watch
think
it.
ultimately the gatekeepers have to start opening the gate?
I think you have to force the gate open. I think
Yeah.
it's not a please open the gate, as Shauna
Yeah.
said. It's a force the gate open. When you have the number one shows, which are all a reflection of diversity,
Empire. Yeah.
that's about the one color we all agree with is green.
Right.
So that will force the door open. And if we
Yeah.
continue to make content that is desired, because the biggest reason why they say they don't do movies with people of color as leads is because they don't sell well internationally.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And now we can
Blame
say
that.
So they're
that's
blaming
not
Europe's
true.
racism on
Yeah, everybody,
America's racism.
China,
Exactly.
everybody.
Yeah.
But that's not true. That's not true
No.
when you see how well these films that people of color have taken over on their own, and
Yeah.
now most recently with Straight Outta Compton and other
You
films.
mentioned Fast and Furious,
Yeah,
which is very diverse.
which
cast.
is very diverse and has
Yeah.
always been diverse.
Yeah.
I don't know if. Well, we don't know if he knows he's diverse, but it's always been the lead character.
Yeah.
Um,
I know
what's
what
his
you're saying.
name?
Tyrese, that one.
No,
Vin Diesel?
Vin Diesel.
Diesel.
Like,
he's
Vin Diesel
he's
is a
vague,
black man.
but
Yeah,
he
does he
considers
not-
he self-identifies as vaguely ethnic.
Yeah,
Like the Mariah. He's our Mariah Carey. Vaguely.
No, Mariah
Vaguely
vaguely
ethnic.
black when she got
Mariah's
with
black,
Nick.
Took a minute.
Yeah, well, now
few
she's with a
decades.
billionaire. She's gonna be like, not anymore.
We put her on Jet many years ago, and she's like, "No, that's not me. I don't want to be
Really?
identified that way. I'm mixed."
Wow.
I'm like, girl. But soon as she started getting some problems,
Put some water in your hair, and then
she
let's
was
talk.
black. Just like Michael. That happens with
That's
us.
true.
We
Definitely.
will take you back too, because we're very accepting. We will take you back.
We are
Be
the
like,
most forgiving fuckers
Most
in the world.
I
Because we've been
hate
through
that about
slavery,
us.
so really.
We've been trained to forgive.
It's true.
And I
It's
hate
true.
that about. I'm like,
It's-
we should
yeah.
just be mad
Yeah.
and just say no.
No.
And then I don't do it. So I'm like,
I can't either.
How do you guys feel about the some actors boycotting this year's Oscars and Chris Rock saying, hosting and basically saying, I'm writing a new show now?
I think Chris Rock should still host because it's a paycheck, and he's probably the brightest person possible for it.
Yes.
I respect anybody who wants to boycott it. I don't think it will make any difference at all.
But don't you
Yeah.
think, or do you think I shouldn't be speaking for you? Something, and again, I've been reading a lot about this, and I've been kind of deep in it since we've been talking about it. And the more I read, the more irrelevant the Oscars feel. I think especially for I read Jada Pinkett Smith's thing about we're not gonna beg for this, and we're not, and it starts to feel like who. It just feels very irrelevant. It's like, who cares?
It's funny
not who
because
cares.
To your
To me,
point,
it's money.
one of my bonus daughters, which legally is stepdaughters, said to me one time, "Why do we have so many of our own award shows?" Like she was looking at the
Image, the
BET
she
Awards,
was looking at
NAACP.
and I said, "Well, why do you think?" And then one of the other girls said, "Because we're awesome," which is cute, sweet, appropriate for a 10-year-old at the time. But I didn't want to say it because they won't give us our awards.
Yeah, no one else would, give us that recognition or accolades that we need and give us, some type of recognition for the hard work that goes into making these movies and films and all of that. But to the boycott question, I don't think it's going to be effective because it's not going to affect you in the pocket. Like,
right.
What would have to happen, I
Right.
hate to say it, is like George Clooney would have to say, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And
Well, George Clooney did come. I didn't say he wasn't going, but he did say something, negative about it.
supported
The
effort.
which I think isn't a boycott, but I think all these people that are coming out and saying this, that, and the other are making it less important, and it's making it like where people who do win are going to feel they're going to be thinking before they make their speech.
this
they're
is
going to
for
be
Idris or whatever.
Oh, Idris.
Anything
my
for
other,
Idris.
my other husband.
anything
God,
for you,
absolutely.
Daddy.
I
He's all of
know.
our husbands. He's all of
I know,
our.
he's totally on my pre-approved cheat list.
Fantastic.
At the top. And at the top and bottom and middle of my list. But with the Oscars, it's like, if we boycott it, what does it say? Like, I wasn't going to watch it anyway because I was
Exactly.
like, why? But
Unless there was somebody that I knew was nominated or something.
yeah,
I
like
don't
when
know.
12 Years a
Yeah,
Slave.
sure.
Who am I thinking?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Something like
Lupita.
that.
Lupita
Oh, yeah.
won. I watched because I was like, I want her to win.
Sure.
So, in that
God,
respect.
that movie.
Oh, I know, but we have to tell those movies. In that respect, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch. I do think Chris Rock is super intelligent, super funny. He's going to do an awesome job. I want to support him, but I'm kind of like, I'm going to watch your opening and then I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
checking
Well, that's
out.
the best part.
Well, but I also think that it's just relevant. It's relative to our state of entertainment in terms of we just watch the clips the next day, whatever that is. Somebody's going to post the most interesting thing
Right.
on Facebook or Twitter or Comedy Central or something, and you'll get it there. There's almost no award show that I feel like I want to watch real time at all. It's sad.
I don't want to watch them real
I don't
time. I've been
really-
to the Emmys. I
Yeah.
don't want to go.
Totally.
If I win, when my show is nominated and I win, I'm like, what time is that's the time I'm coming.
You're not going to do the red carpet?
But
Come
don't you
on.
think
Of course I'm gonna
ultimately
do the red
everybody
carpet. Then I'm
wants
gonna
to be
go to like
invited?
TGIF and chill out,
That's
Olive Garden or some
hilarious.
crap, and
Like,
just
I'll be
do
back.
it. I'll be back. 'Cause they're
Ultimately,
boring.
no matter even whatever, we personally may not be that interested in the Oscars, but everybody should be allowed to be invited to the party. And whatever
Yeah.
your profession is, there is always the it's the seniors inviting you to their table, but this is also
Absolutely.
professional implications, and there's a validity and a validation
Mhm.
that
And it makes money for the movies.
it
that
makes
are-
money for
yeah.
the movies, but also it's a personal and
You're talking
professional.
about the art being stamped with basically
Yeah.
some type of
Mhm.
award, basically.
Yeah, and
But I think for like for example, I wrote on very briefly the #1 show on cable for at least a year, but it had been on for several years. It got nothing in mainstream media.
Mhm.
I'm used to that. I mean, it's just not. It's like
it's
It's almost like the Oscars. I feel like the award show isn't for necessarily Hollywood. It's for everybody else.
right.
And then the statement it says to everybody else is, this is who is important.
Right.
And this is who makes what you enjoy and what you love and sets the tone for how we see people and how we, portray people. It's these people, and this is who you should be paying attention to.
Mhm.
So we've gotten so used to people saying don't pay attention to us,
Yeah.
that we pay attention to each other, and then we keep moving. And
Right.
I feel like that's what the boycott is about. I think that's why they were like boycotted, to say, you know what, you're not paying attention to us, we're not going to pay attention to you. That's kind of where I feel like the sentiment of that came from. But I feel like it's not going to change anything.
Okay.
It's not going to
Absolutely,
have the effect I wish it could have. And,
Yeah.
if it worked, then I'd be the main
Oh,
one
me
out
too. We'd
there
be
screaming,
picketing,
and
protesting.
all
If
of
you feel
that.
like
it was
my
an
t-shirt,
effective-
it'd
If I
be
felt like
great.
it was an effective,
Absolutely, yeah.
tool, but I don't think it is. And as a result, I think it kind of deflates it.
Right.
Makes things, and I've heard people say, we're whining and all
Sure.
of that, and
Yeah.
we're being ungrateful, which is the first thing you hear
The-
as a person of color.
Yeah, without a
Charlotte,
doubt.
what's her Charlotte Rampling from? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had someone, a white male writer, like, oh, I'm glad I could help someone like you out, and to say that to my face, and I was like, what do you mean, like me? Like I knew exactly what
he meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like,
Community
that's
service.
stop and think.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
It wasn't help someone like you who graduated with honors, who beat out all these people for this one little spot. Over 2,000
4,000
people.
people.
Yeah, 2,000. Well, they throw out
You're like
2,000.
20 million.
Yeah, like I had a better shot of being struck by lightning,
Yeah.
but I'm here, and you're like,
Absolutely.
oh, well, we helped you, pat you on the head, and go about your business. And I think it's that mentality that we're really fighting against. It's,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
that I went to a diversity workshop yesterday at the Writers Guild, and it was called Staffing is Now, and it was a panel full of showrunners, and the showrunner are the people who run the television show, and they're also the person in charge of bringing in new writers. And one of the people in the room asked this question, and he was a screenwriter, and he said, as a 40-year-old white male coming from screenwriting, trying to transition into TV, my agent said it's impossible. And like everybody was in the room like, what the?
Yeah, you're like impossible
Yeah,
for
yeah.
for
For
you.
who? And like somebody like kind of addressed the question, but then finally somebody was like,
Dude.
you're a white guy.
You get all the
this
jobs.
is your guilt.
You get all-
Absolutely.
I mean, what are you saying? Who said that to you? And shut up. You didn't believe that, did you? Kill yourself. Like,
Yeah.
it was horrible. But we were all sitting there feeling very
Yeah.
uncomfortable because we were like, my room was like 8 white guys.
Yeah,
And one
yeah.
other woman and me. Like, the next room I went into, 10 white guys.
Totally.
And me.
And you.
So it's
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not
Rampant
true. You're
sexism.
lying.
Yeah.
Shut
There's,
up.
there's not that many more white men.
It's
in the
like when
world
pretty,
than-
like really hot girls are like, I'm having a hard time losing weight. You're like, no, you're
No,
not.
you're not.
Shut
I
up.
hate those girls.
Fuck off.
I
Yeah.
still this
I
7
hate those
pounds.
girls.
I can't get this
Yeah.
7
I forgot
pounds.
to,
So
and I
true.
forgot to eat today. Booby boo. Like, fuck you.
Exactly. It's so true. And I would just also like to emphasize that Oscars So White is not just about Black people. It's literally
Asian.
that.
Like, yes.
For several years, there's just not been one person
Yeah.
who,
Yeah, absolutely,
So-
absolutely. Yeah, no, I know. It's like, where are the Latinas in the writers' room?
Yeah.
Are they?
Which is
even
where is
there?
everybody?
It's not, I mean, it's really difficult for Latinos, I think.
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah.
It's
There's
crazy. I heard a story recently about a guy who was told to change his name from
Wow.
Hernandez to Cohen.
I mean, they actually
Wow.
have that option though, because
Wow.
I could change my name to Berkowitz right
I know.
now.
True that.
Make me
Well,
like
my first
walk
name
in
is
the door.
Shauna, so I
Sit your ass there.
But yeah.
Cat's out of the bag, Tash.
Just so you know, I'm like Sammy Davis Jr. up in here.
Cat's out of the
We can
bag.
help you with that. We can help you convert right here today.
There was to the answer the guy who was 40-year-old white guy. There was a white guy on the panel, and he's writing for a show, Cuban American show on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And he told him, he said, well, I'm co-show running this show, and our room is half Cuban Americans.
Mhm.
What's the other half?
Well,
They can easily walk in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
what I
They
meant.
they
yeah.
made sure it was half Cuban
That's
American
amazing.
Yeah.
and half what else?
Right.
He didn't say the other half, but we all
It's
knew.
white men.
Mhm.
We all
Y'all
knew
know-
what
you
he
know what it is.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was saying, so there's clearly room. He was
Yeah.
like trying to say what
I
I
mean,
was
that's
saying.
Hemming and hawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. That's just the reality. That's just it just is. So
Yeah.
like for this man.
But I also think, do we have time or do we?
Yeah.
stop?
No, I want to hear whatever.
I just
We have,
wanted to say-
we have endless time for you.
One
my
more
friend.
quick thing about affirmative action, basically in general. We both went to UCLA, and at the time they were dismantling affirmative action, and it's a big to-do. But anyway, years later, I went back and I worked in admissions, and I saw my own application, and I saw that I would have gotten in. I got in on every quadrant, but I had, and I would have been entered. I would have gotten in even if I hadn't have met those quadrants.
Mm-hmm.
But people look at you and assume that because you're here and there's these programs that you must somehow be less than in terms of your qualifications. But the point of those programs is to fight back against literally institutional racism
Yes.
and
Yeah.
sexism. They exist literally just to push back, to say, hey, by the way,
Just pay
you might be
attention.
ignoring this little group from East Oakland.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
hey, that's it. That's all. Just to start the conversations. It doesn't mean that they're less than or less worthy or
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
Just
you
to
know?
get them in the
But
game.
But
Yeah.
it still winds up being sometimes like a boomerang effect.
It can
when,
be,
when you're
yeah.
saying, you're getting through you're the diversity person, and
Yeah.
they're
And
like,
don't you
oh.
think you're always referred to as a black writer or a female
without a
writer?
doubt.
Well, remember on 30 Rock when they
Suggest-
called the black guy token.
Well, I love that she
Which
just
was
does
like, just
that.
said
that.
it.
I
I know,
love
it was
that.
like, let's
Yeah.
just say it.
Yeah,
This
I
is
love
what
that.
it is.
I
That's
love it.
token. He's
Yeah.
our token. He's
Yeah.
Harvard and he's black.
And he's black. Yeah.
Token.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It can be a complete backlash because it's like the Scarlet Letter, the Scarlet D. I'm not talking about, dick pictures, but I'm talking about
Hilarious.
diversity.
As,
But
a
you
divorce,
can.
as a divorced woman, I went to Scarlet D.
You went to
Divorce.
Right.
So it's basically like, oh, you came in, I didn't sign with an agent because I knew he wanted to sign me because he was going to submit me for all the diversity slots.
Right.
And I
I mean,
said,
think about how
no,
powerful
thank
that
you.
is. You did not want
You
to.
did
be
I did
represented
not
in that
sign with
box.
him because I said, I'm not going to, you can't steer my career.
And hold on, if she signed with that agent, he would not read my work because he's already
already
got
got
He already
he
got
checks
one.
every box. She's female, boom, and she's a person of color. Oh, and black.
And she from where they say rodeo is
It-
rodeo?
Oh,
Check that.
Yeah,
She's
that-
poor.
It's
Check
definitely
that.
true. So it's happening at all levels. The
Yeah.
discrimination is just bananas.
And they pass
So-
the buck because agents say, oh, I can't sign you because I can't get you a job
Exactly.
because the showrunner doesn't want you. The network does. And then the network says, oh, well, we can't find you because agents are signing you. And then showrunners are saying, I don't know anyone and agents are only sending me these people. And so everybody's passing the buck. No one wants to be responsible for it. And so it just continues to happen. The wheel is still turning and it's not getting any better.
So what does it just have to be like this generation dies out and then the younger generation?
This has been not just this generation.
Well,
I think
no,
that
yeah, no.
sadly, yes, I
That
do
won't
think
work.
that people have to die for there to be new life in every form, and that's awful but true. And I
Yeah.
also think that we just have to continue to educate people,
Right.
and not in a bitch hire me way, but in a do you realize you're a racist asshole, and just start the conversation
Yeah.
way.
Did you
know?
understand what just happened?
Like, do
yeah.
you know that you literally looked at everybody's resume except for so-and-so's because it had an ethnic sounding, syllable in it, which is bias and a whole nother subject that we could talk about for hours. The Guild does tons of research on that.
But I don't think I think that's one of the problems. I don't think people in Hollywood, because we're very liberal, realize that they're racist.
Oh, of course not.
That's the
because
thing.
they hired Chris Rock, they voted for President Obama.
Right. So and
Right.
that's why they
That's
continue to
two
do
Negroes
it.
in their lives.
Because they have a black friend. I am
Shonda.
the black friend.
Their
Right.
mistress is a black woman. woman.
Right.
Just to be honest. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
just,
nice.
I mean, yeah, they think
They
that
have a
because there's-
picture on their phone of at least
Absolutely.
one black person.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
If for every person I've had say something, some version of, my high school best friend was black. I wonder whatever happened to him. You know, that type of thing of like, you
But
know.
I think that's why it's not going to change, because it's like, I'm not racist. That's what I'm
Like
not.
you have to confront something within yourself that you don't want to, and that's very uncomfortable.
to say that
Exactly.
I'm only
Yeah.
looking
Right.
for this person
Right.
to write for me. I think only you can imitate my voice and push my vision. Anyone else is kind of like, you're an outsider. You don't understand. And until we, you know,
Right.
internalize our own, you know, ways of thinking, then this generation and next generation, because those kids, what were they, 17, 18?
Yeah.
That had, I mean, if we waiting on them,
Yeah.
Right.
That
they're going to
they're
be
not doing
spelling
it.
out words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the worst examples.
So we all need
Yeah.
everybody needs like lots of therapy, lots of analysis.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, like you know, when
you're
it comes
right.
down to it, it's like getting real with yourself, like
Without a
really,
doubt.
just
Yeah,
like
it's just-
sitting down and thinking.
These things don't happen overnight. You know, the civil rights movement did not happen because somebody got shot. I mean, it's
right.
decades and decades of conversations, action, and organizing.
Right. This has been the most fascinating conversation.
Fascinating.
I mean, I feel like we're real podcasters now.
But wait, I have one important question. Meredith,
Yes.
did you double your income since last week and this week?
Not since last week and this week, but since last year.
That's
Did you
amazing.
listen to the
yeah,
New Year's?
I did. And
Yes.
but your thing for this year was double. So.
Well, that was last year, but
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Yes.
Well,
And I
I don't
still
know
don't have a
what
hot
is that
tub.
referring to.
So we did a New Year's resolution show, which we just put up because we're tardy and we're meltdown moms, and that's how we roll. And I had said that basically my husband, who just walked in the door, Justin, hi, who his resolution for me was to double my salary, and I did it. Now, I had a shit salary to start, so it wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, so we were talking
You
about
did it.
Yeah, I did it.
That's
and,
good.
And, you know,
Congratulations.
I'm a one-man band here of my fingertips and a computer, so I felt sort of proud of that. So
That's terrific.
big.
honestly.
now,
It's
if I do
huge.
it again, then we'll be like, oh,
Like, what is happening?
my God,
You overachiever, you.
you might have talent. Should we talk about our Meltdown Mom of the Week?
Yes. So every week we do a meltdown mom of the week, dad of the week.
It's a
whoever.
tentpole piece.
It's a temple piece.
Fantastic.
And this week, which has just happened and is perfectly timed with this conversation, we're kind of saying that every mom of
Every parent.
everybody are kind of the moms of the week, thanks to the new Barbie revolution.
Oh, I saw that.
Did you see this?
Yes.
Like Barbie is now
Barbie's gone diverse.
Yeah.
gone diverse, shapes, sizes.
She can never win an Oscar now.
She's never going to win an Oscar. Nobody's going to buy her,
No.
but she is out there. Actually,
She'll
no,
never find jeans.
she'll never find jeans that fit her. Both of this they actually said that this girl had one of the curvy Barbies.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And they tried to put their other Barbie clothes and they didn't fit. So yeah.
Welcome to life after children, friend.
That's funny.
Yes, but it is like a great moment. And also, and it is, again, it's all about the color green because Barbie was losing so much money. They were down 20%. And then they were like, why? And they're like, well, we're always getting complaints about like this skinny white woman who is not
Right.
realistic.
She looks like she's at spring break all the time.
all the time. And nobody wants her and everybody's mad about her.
But do you think people are going to buy, curvy Barbie?
Absolutely. I'm going out, like my daughter's birthday is coming up and she's turning 10 and I'm going out and I'm buying them.
That's great.
Yeah.
I used to make my Barbies have a lot of sex.
That's a good
My daughter might be doing that
backstory.
too, but it's diversity of sexuality.
And
I
then
don't
when
care.
my sister got mad at me and she cut my Skipper was the little friend of
Skipper's
Barbie.
gone
she
away,
cut
too.
my Skipper's hair off and then left the hair at my
Is your
bedroom
sister now a
doorstep.
homicidal maniac?
She's very normal, nice person.
One might think, Shauna.
This is
One
like
might think.
this is suburban white rage when we're kids.
Okay. Actually, my cousin had every Barbie. Like, she had the dream house, the
Oh, me too.
Corvette, and like all the stuff. And I hated it. And she like, let's play Barbie. So I was like, yeah, fuck Barbie.
Yeah.
What is that?
She don't live in the hood.
My mother was a feminist Black Panther. I didn't get Barbies.
I didn't get that was not for you. That was not for you.
But I like the new Barbies.
But
I
I'm
like
gonna
that
have to
they're
support this
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
like the direction. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I
It
think
is
it's
a good
great
thing. It's a good thing for little girls to see
It is.
what their body will
It
someday
really
look like.
No, it really is. It's like but the funny thing, you just said that, and my mother was a big feminist, and also a very tall, statuesque woman. So I never got Barbie. I got Darcy, the brunette that was really really big.
Linebacker Barbie.
Oh my goodness, how funny!
I got Darcy, and I've been to, and nobody else knows who I'm talking about. I'm like, Darcy, you remember the big
Darcy?
brunette?
It's so sweet of
I'm like,
her,
I think my
though.
mom went out and had one made for me. That was
Captain
like,
of
this
the
is what
soccer
you're going to
team
look
Barbie.
like when you're older.
That's kind.
Sporty
I like
Barbie.
that. That's mothering.
But that's image.
I like
that's
that.
like
That's
I'm going to
wonderful.
control the images in her. You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a complex.
It's
Yeah,
actually
Darcy.
Yeah. Darcy, go Darcy.
It's so dope. It's a good, and dope is a good thing.
So we're all winning here today.
We're all
We're all
winning.
the moms of the week. So thank you, Lady Shauna.
Thank you,
Thank you for
ladies.
having us.
Tash Gray, amazing women writers, and just
Thank
such a
you.
fascinating discussion. And this is the Meltdown Moms.
That's right.
Thank you to Mason Booker, our amazing engineer, Adam Silverstein, for producing, and Meltdown Comics.
Yes.
We will be back,
Maybe.
probably.
Okay.
See you soon.